listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
Hello there, hope you're doing awesome, and as always, thank you for choosing to listen to my show Straight to Video. Once again, on this episode, we're gonna dive into the ever-growing VHS video community and meet up with someone whose journey is incredibly inspiring to me and very cool to see everything he's putting out into the world for us all to share. Today we check in with Dustin Mattson, filmmaker, YouTuber, podcaster, and uber 80s horror fan. And you know what? This chat was an absolute blast, which I'm super excited for you all to hear. The main reason for our talk was to let you all know about Dustin's new film, TapeHead, The Return of Jacob Cobb, which saw its release a couple of weeks ago, actually on Dustin's birthday. Dustin, along with his friends and colleagues from his local town and horror community, have created this really fun popcorn horror movie, and you know what? I think it's introduced us to a really great new horror icon in the form of TapeHead himself. This film was inspired by a movie short Dustin made a couple of years ago, so it's kind of a sequel, kind of a remake, maybe consider it as Evil Dead 2, and I was lucky enough to see a sneak peek of the film, and it's so much fun, and the love and passion that went into it is all there to be seen on the screen. Our chat covers all of this, and we also dive back into the path Dustin has taken to get to this point, from his introductions into horror, along with being a music and wrestling fan, the people who have encouraged and inspired him to get where he is today, and what the future holds for the Tapehead movie now it's out in the world. This really was a fun talk, and so great when you chat with someone for the first time and really get a feel for their passion and drive, because that inspires me too. Want to shout to our mutual buddy VHS Mikey, who was on the podcast a few months ago for the introduction and continues to prove what cool and awesome people are out there, and it's always a blast to connect. This straight-to-video podcast is proudly presented to you in association with Affinity Photo, an incredible piece of photo editing software which I use for graphic design, and it's used to create the podcast artwork episode you see each week. And what's cool is it's an extremely affordable alternative to other programs on the market. So if you can, please check them out at affinity.serif.com. Alright, let's do this. If you want to learn more about the new Tapehead movie and everything Dustin is involved in, from 3B Video, his Deep Cut podcast, and lots more, then probably the best place to find it all is over on their Linktree page. Just search Tapehead Movie, or you can find 3B Video on YouTube and Facebook too. Right now though, please enjoy my straight-to-video chat with Dustin Mattson.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. You need me to turn this video on for you. There you go.
There he is.
Bam.
How's things, dude?
Not too shabby.
Excellent stuff.
Of course, my dog's going to start barking right now.
That's all right.
That hoodlum. I put the cat upstairs and locked it in our bedroom. I was like, the dog will be fine. And then as soon as I started talking to you, he's like, woof. I'm like, hey.
Yeah. Well, it's great to hook up. I heard about you through the legend that is VHS Mikey.
Right.
At the back end of last year. I'm loving everything he's doing. I've really enjoyed diving into everything you've been doing over at 3B Video. It's awesome, dude. It's wicked.
Our crazy little world, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Mikey's a good dude, man.
How did you two originally hook up? He never said when I spoke to him. He just said like, oh, a friend who's doing the original Tapehead with you. So I never actually asked him how you originally hooked up.
So I think it was just a YouTube thing. Like he was looking up video stores, you know, like home video stores that people have built. And then he just started like popping into our live streams and talking. And he was just super friendly. And he added me on Facebook. And I didn't even know he had a YouTube channel. And he posted a video on his YouTube channel of his theater/video store that went out of business. And I cried. I cried when I watched it. And I was like, okay, like you're really one of us. You're not just some name on YouTube, like some just random person. Like you're really like us. And I don't know, we just had like this really good connection. And yeah, we talk every day. And he flew out here to shoot Tapehead. And then when we were editing it, we drove out and picked him up and brought his computer here. And so like we had our computer and his computer and we like edited together. And
how far away is he from you? Because he's kind of like the Oklahoma way.
About 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a trek, you know, loading up the SUV and leaving at like 4 a.m. so we could get there at a decent time and then load all his shit in the car. And then we stopped and ate and put some gas in the car and drove all the way back and have tornadoes chasing us the whole fucking way and all that stuff. So
Well, I'm stoked we can hook up and chat. I'm coming to you from Nottingham. Well, the nearest big city is Nottingham, so I'm right smack bang in the middle. So I don't know if you made it over to the UK or overseas at any point.
I never have, but I worked with one of my buddies was from over there. And we always call him London Chris. And he gets real mad because he's like, I'm not from London, I'm from bloody Birmingham. So I always give him shit. Like he's in my phone as London Chris. And then like he'll come watch the fights and stuff. He gives me a bunch of cool insight to the slang over there because I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan. So I was asking him like, what does that mean when he's like, I'll cut your Jacobs off? And he's like, Jacobs is a brand of crackers, which rhymes with knackers, and knackers is your bits, and bits means balls. So like, and he like went through the whole thing. He's like, so that's what that means. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. It takes a while. Like got a dead Brazilian in my skyrocket, as was another thing he told me, which means he has money in his pocket or something.
Well, I got the pocket bit, but I didn't know what the bit before was. That's crazy.
I don't know. Dead Brazilian in my skyrocket. And I'm like, okay, something about $100 bill in your pocket. I'm like, okay, sure.
First up, massive congratulations on the release of the new TapeHead movie, The Return of Jacob Cobb. You kindly sent me a preview copy of it, which I admit I adored watching. It's so much fun. You got to release it on your birthday last week, which I think was super cool. I'd originally teased it maybe being released in May, but I guess a birthday launch, everything tied in nicely.
Right. Either late May or early June was our original projection, and it was getting later and later. And see, my wife is a professional photographer, so she had tons of sessions she needed to edit and shoot and all this stuff. And she's also like her and I we edit together. So she's like, I just don't know about like special features and stuff. So maybe we can release like a bare bones Blu-ray, and then 6-7 months down the road, we can release a special edition with a slipcover and stuff. I'm like, sure, that'll work. And so Dylan and I did a commentary track for the regular Blu-ray. And I just felt like, June 7th for my birthday felt like the perfect release date, because then every time someone ordered one, it was like getting a present, So I'm like, all right, sweet. And we're slowly recouping the cost of the production day by day, sale by sale. So
was the whole day a bit of a blur with birthday celebrations and fielding feedback for the film, or did you purposely avoid social media for the day and pick things up afterwards, or was it too tempting? I got to see what people are saying.
The only social media I have on my phone is Instagram, because I try to stay away from all of that stuff. So later in the evening, once I come home and then I can check and I see how many orders or whatever, and I'm like, oh, it starts to kind of get not overwhelming, but like nerve wracking, because I'm putting that out into the world and I'm scared to see what people think, like that's that first initial, like, oh God, like I have imposter syndrome so bad. And I'm like, I don't know if I belong here.
I think if you're a creative person and don't have imposter syndrome, you're perhaps not as much of a creative person as you think you are. I think it's the other people who don't have it that might be the imposters.
Yeah, it's tough when someone says, award-winning director or whatever. I'm like, how much of like a normal goon I am. Like I'm just a dad, a husband, an idiot who watches way too many movies. Like I'm nothing special. And so I always have that in the back of my mind. And then I'm like, when people watch this, are they going to get it? Because it's a $7,000 movie made by a bunch of, friends having fun on the weekends. It's got a specific audience to me. Like my favorite director of all time is Don Dohler. Don made like Night Beast and Fiend and Alien Factor and stuff like that. And it was all like him, his buddies, his family, most of the time shooting like at his house or his backyard. And, there's like a specific audience of people who like stuff like that. And I just got to find them. Right? So,
I mean, it's been a very busy few years for you, both with the TapeHead and all things 3B video. For those that aren't aware, if I get this right, the 3Bs are boobs, blood, and beast.
Absolutely.
All the cool aspects for a great 80s slasher. Where are things currently now the film is out there? Is there like a big sense of relief after all this hard work? Or do you feel like, right, it's out there now, the work is just getting started just to keep that momentum up? Where is your like headspace right now?
Yeah, like we're just getting started. We have some screenings locally, and then we have one in Kansas City in August. But, we're going to start putting it in festivals, and we're going to travel to as many horror conventions and get a booth, because our cover art was my main thing. I wanted old school, awesome cover art. And I feel like that's a conversation piece that stops people. And even if you don't end up liking the movie, it's just like getting duped into renting a bad movie. That cover art was killer. And so I feel like hitting the convention scene and being amongst indie horror fans, they'll see that cover art and it might intrigue them enough to pick up a copy. And then I can maybe start to build some sort of a reputation or a name for like, my wife and I and like our little ragtag team of goons.
The question is the photos on the back of the cover art?
Oh, absolutely.
That was always the big warning sign. The cover art was amazing, but there was no photos of the actual film. So you was pretty guaranteed it was going to be shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
no evidence.
Yeah. So we very consciously, we put a couple pretty girls from the movie on the back. We put the monster on the back. And then, of course, in the synopsis, made sure to say, based on the award-winning short film, like that makes it sound like it's, got a little gravitas to it, a little, whatever. Like, so hopefully the packaging get some eyes on it, I suppose.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, TapeHead Jacob Cobb, it's such a great character. It's a screaming action figure, by the way. I'm sure you've been told that.
We're trying. We are trying.
Yeah. Someone needs to make that happen. One thing I think is cool about him, though, other than the badass way he looks, are the noises he makes. What sound effect is that? Is that a lion or something?
Okay, yeah. So I think you're the first person to ever ask me about that.
That was one of the first things so I was like, this is really cool for like a slasher killer. Like roaring at people and growling.
Yeah, he's got like a really like guttural, nasty sound to him. And so what that is, we recorded the actor who plays Tapehead, that's Dylan Weeks. We recorded him doing a couple of different things, little grunts, growls, heavy breaths, things like that. And then we like manipulated that with sounds of angry chimpanzees, rhinos, elephants. I mean, there's all types of different animals kind of weaved into this, which is what, I'm not comparing us to Steven Spielberg or anything, but like that's what the sound design people did for Jurassic Park. Kind of mixing all of these different unique, angry animal sounds and creating the T-Rex sound. And so that was where our head was like, if he sounds cool, if he looks cool, if he's got a theme, like, so there's a very subtle throughout the movie. Whenever he's there's like a 3 or 4 chord piano, doom, 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 doom thing that pops up. And so it's kind of like all of those things, plus the silhouette makes him memorable. So we just tried to check off all the boxes because before shooting, when we decided we wanted to change his look from the short film, because he was way different looking in the short film, we just went back to the drawing board and we're like, okay, so like what makes like a Michael Myers work? What makes a Jason work, a Freddy work? And it's the theme, the silhouette, all of these different things, like a unique way of resurrecting, a unique way of dispatching. And so I just made sure that I had all of those things when I was writing the script. I don't want this movie to just come and go. Like I want it to kind of stick around and have some legs, Yeah,
definitely. His resurrection is very unique. I love that. I'm not going to give it away, but yeah, it all ties into the theme, but it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I thought for sure it was like you'd like got some samples of like lions roaring or something like that, but that's cool that you mixed a bunch of stuff together. That's weird.
Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of animals mixed together, and then I think we made like 20 or 25 different like sounds for him.
Yeah, because it's not just one. It's not just like one roar every time he kills people. There's like subtle ones where he's just coming face to face with someone, and there's different levels to it.
Yeah, so we made a whole bunch of those. So some are quieter, some are, louder, some are long, some are short. Yeah, we just, use those.
Everyone in the cast are great, and you really give everyone a time to shine, and they all put in super fun performances. Did anyone in particular surprise you once the cameras rolled? Or are you just going to be biased and say your son?
Well, yeah, my son is... He's amazing. But the lead actress who plays his sister would be Zoe Griever, who plays Pam. She was our last cast person for the movie. I had like 3 or 4 actresses take on the role, and then right before shooting, be like, oh, I'm going back to college, or oh, I'm having a kid, or this or that, or
the joys of indie filmmaking.
Yeah, which anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Scheduling is the worst part of making a movie. It's the hardest, biggest pain in the ass ever. But luckily, my wife knew Zoe. She messaged me and she goes, I think I know a girl who would be perfect for this role. And she sends me a picture of this girl, and I go, okay, yeah, she's got the look that, it's kind of like innocent. So I asked my wife, I made sure, I'm like, can I message this girl? Like, cause that's weird. She's like an 18-year-old and I'm like a 38-year-old dude. Like, hey, you want to come be in my movie? Which is gross.
Honest. It's a film. Honest. It's legit.
Yeah. I promise that like we have crafty and everything. So my wife gave me the go ahead. So I messaged Zoe and she was like, yeah, sure. I'm absolutely interested, but I've never done this before. I'm like, that's fine. None of us have, So when she started out, she was really kind of meek and mild. But we shot almost all chronologically. So by the end of the film, she's really comfortable with who she is. And it kind of plays off like she starts out meek and mild and then gets tougher. So it's almost intentional, that she got used to playing this character, and it worked to our benefit, I feel. But yeah, I really do praise her all the time, because I'm like, you had no idea what you were doing. And we would literally be like, this is your line. And she would say her line, and then she would go, okay, like, was that good? Do you want me to do it again? And then she'd be like, what's my next line? Like, we were literally feeding her line after line after line, and it comes across awesome. So yeah, kudos to her.
Did she have any reference for any old school horror films? Is she a horror fan herself, do you know? Or do you say, like, go watch Heather Langenkamp or somebody like that?
Yeah, Zoe is like a moderate horror fan. She's a young kid, so a lot of the stuff that she watches is the newer horror. So I had to, a lot of the cast, I basically was like, first and foremost, go watch Friday the 13th Part 4. This is exactly what I'm trying to get at, is Friday 4. I want you guys to be likable. I want to be able to, if no killer showed up, that you would still maybe watch an hour and a half movie of them like trying to get laid and hang out, but them getting killed is kind of the icing on the cake, and they have no idea that death is coming for them, which is the best part to me about Friday 4. So just that kind of tone of like, in most slashers, there's always like someone, even other Friday the 13th movies, there's always someone who pops up and goes, don't go to that camp, blah, blah, blah. And in our movie, I wanted to like very consciously cut people off from, like, when they buy the stuff at the yard sale, spoiler alert, we shut down that exposition. Like, everybody knows that's coming, so get rid of it, and then we'll do it later. So yeah, stuff like that.
You mentioned it earlier, but one thing that like immediately jumped out to me about the film was the music. The score, which is unique to the film. Is it Christoph Wetty?
Yes.
I believe did that. But also the songs used in the film. All the great 80s horror movies had killer soundtracks.
Yeah.
So was that always important to you as well? Like, we need to get not necessarily just the instrumental score, but we need some tunes in here as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, going back to like my YouTube roots with my YouTube partner, Chris Daniel, or Evil Dead Inc., however anyone wants to know him, but we have like a very specific tone of horror that we like. We refer to it as popcorn horror, and everybody likes a different flavor of popcorn, right? But like, we really like stuff like Monster Squad. Everybody loves Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, that MTV era, or like Maniac Cop 2, where like we're starting to get songs in those movies that spell out the plot.
Right.
They have like their own song that spells out the plot. And recently, Steve Kostanski's Psycho Goreman, PG for short,
Yeah.
was a big influence. So I wanted like an 80s sounding rap song to kind of give you the plot of the short and then the plot of the feature. And I could have put that at the end of the movie, but I was like, nope, I'm going to do it different. And I'm going to put it in the opening credits. The song doesn't spoil anything for you, but it just kind of gets the mode going. Like, if you hear, an 80s sounding rap song at the beginning of the movie, you kind of know we're not taking ourselves that seriously, but we also did kind of stick specifically to a tone. We didn't go too hard in the paint with the comedy. So, but yeah, we wanted that old school sound for sure.
How do you get your own theme song? I mean, is it Rewind or Die by Raven Hunter?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Is that somebody you know, or did you put like the word out that you're after some original material?
So what I did was I actually made a post on Facebook, and I was like, anybody who's in a band, whatever, that's following us, if you'd like some of your music featured in our movie, we would absolutely love it. Like, send us what you got and we'll decide. And Raven Hunter, this is actually, I'm going to out myself a little bit. Raven Hunter was actually signed to the record label that I was signed to when I was younger, because I was a hip hop artist for a number of years. And Raven Hunter and I had never worked together ever. And I love his voice, but we had never done a song together. I'm long since retired. I do not do any hip hop. I'm too old. I'm bald and all that stuff. But he's still putting out albums and killing it. And I reached out to him and I said, would you want to do like the title track for the movie? And he was like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, absolutely. And then he's like, how do you want me to do it? Like, what do you want me to say? And I'm like, well, I let him read the script. Here's things don't say, don't say these things. And also I don't want you like going off libbity hibbity jibbity. I don't want like double time. I want 80s style, like real simple rhyme scheme. Da, 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 da. And he just nailed it. And I fucking love that song.
It was probably about a third into the song. I'm like, these lyrics are related to the song. This is legit. Mm-hmm. This is like its own thing. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I figured that would set us apart from other indie horror films, really. Is like, not a lot of people focus on that soundtrack aspect. And I just love the idea of original songs. So, had to do it.
I've been listening to the follow-ups all day today. Their song Monsters, that's in a great scene with your son Tyson. I was like, I got to find out who does this one. It's great.
So the follow-ups are amazing. And that was another thing. One of their members is either from or has since moved relatively local to us. He was like, I got a band. He is in 2 bands, the Follow-Ups and the Biff Tannins. And he is like, I'll send you both albums and use whatever you want. The second I heard the sound of that, I was like, this is also spot on. Like we're old school hip hop guys, but we're also kind of punk, you know, in the aspect of we're making movies for $7,000 with no help from anyone. And we're the punk band that can't get in the venue. So we just turn our garage into a venue, like, and charge $5 and still somehow make money, like just that grassroots. And so I fell in love with their whole album and I was like, can I use like all of it? They're like, whatever. So yeah, I used a bunch of their stuff.
That's wicked. Do you have a favorite horror soundtrack from back in the day?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. But, you know, I'd probably go Shocker.
Nice.
I really, really like Shocker. I've got that on CD and cassette in the video store downstairs. So
The Dudes of Wrath.
Yes, yeah.
Probably the greatest supergroup ever when you dive into who's behind that.
Damn right. And I think, didn't the lead singer of that end up doing the Victor Crowley song for the end of Victor Crowley, Hatchet 4? I can't remember the name of that song. I want to say Die and Rise Again or something like that. But I know someone from Dudes of Wrath is in the band that did that song for Adam Green.
I'll have to check that out. I'll dive in and find out who that is. Because, like, I think was it written by Desmond Child? And there's like every big 80s dude on that.
Yeah, there's like tons of awesome people in that group. Yeah.
Everything you seem to do, there's a great family community feel through the new film, through 3B video. Has your hometown itself been quite supportive as well? I think I've seen you get some pretty good press throughout the making of the film.
Yeah, and that honestly, that really surprised me. I am not originally from this town. We've lived in this town about 14 years, and I'm kind of a weird like recluse. I just turned 39, but I'm perpetually like a 14-year-old boy. So the town that I grew up in is probably about 35 miles away, and it's a super famous town. It's Villisca, Iowa, which is one of the most haunted places in the nation because there was an unsolved axe murder there, yada, yada. So that town makes a ton of money off of like letting people spend the night there, letting ghost hunters come to that house. Like they kind of like celebrate this murder. They sell shirts and newspaper replicas and all that stuff.
Was that a thing when you were a kid as well?
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, it's a tourist attraction now, but it's a little hole in the wall town, you know, maybe 1,000 people, but they celebrate stuff like that. But I would get, you know, spit on and called a hoodlum for wearing like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt. So I just, being a horror fan as a teenager, you know, I was just like, nobody really understands this. Like, I'm not a violent person. I'm not a bad person. I just like fun movies, you know, gnarly stuff. So that town kind of like wrote me off. And then when we moved here, my wife is from this town. So she kind of has ties to the community, and she's a photographer who has her own business here, and everybody loves her. And once they knew that, you know, we were working together and making this movie and stuff, they kind of got behind me, and I've never once had any trouble being the horror guy. You know, they just know that, you know, we're fun and we involve our family, and yeah, they let us block off streets. They let us go wherever we wanted. And they're like, sure, just unblock the streets when you're done. Don't make a big mess, or if you spray blood everywhere, clean it up or whatever. Like, they were just so supportive, and they've done, I think, 3 newspaper articles to date, and they want to have us back next week. So wild. And this theater in town is going to play our movie in July. So yeah, it's crazy to have that kind of support when you're used to being like the underdog.
Catches you off guard sometimes.
It really does, because I don't know how to react to stuff like that. Again, that's kind of the same thing with waiting on the reviews for the movie, is like, I don't know. I'm still that 14-year-old kid who is wary of like what people are going to say, I guess.
So shout out to, is it Shenandoah, Iowa, yeah?
Yeah.
Horror's obviously it's been a big part of your life since you were like probably far too young, and your dad would introduce you to both horror and WWF wrestling.
Yeah.
What era of WWF was it that caught your eye?
Yeah, I was probably 5, 6 years old. So that'd be, you know, 89, 90.
Oh, that's my era right there.
Yeah, I got the blue. Everything was blue, like the mat was blue, the apron was blue, and they would always go like backstage, and the backstage walls would be painted blue, and like Boss Man would be like beating the shit out of people back there. And
it's gold, man.
The early 90s era with my father, and then, you know, my mom and dad got divorced when I was 7, and so I kind of got out of wrestling for a while, but then I kind of came back in there around, you know, I was maybe 13 or 14. We all wanted to be professional wrestlers, and you know, the Attitude Era, that brought everything back. Like, you know, let's spray paint ETW on our trampoline because we're the Extreme Trampoline Wrestling. We had like a really crappy Angel Fire website where we would like scan our Polaroids of us wrestling. And, you know, we all thought we were going to make it somewhere and we never went anywhere with wrestling. Just now we all have back pain because we did a bunch of really dumb shit.
Was this back when you could actually rent wrestling tapes from the video store?
Oh, yeah.
Is that something you did, like going back through the history? Obviously, way before WWE Network and all that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, we loved it. We rented tapes constantly.
Those double tapes.
Yeah. And then, WWF got smart and they started doing like tapes of just those wrestlers, So like if you're a big Mankind fan, get your Mick Foley fix, or if you're a big The Rock fan or Stone Cold fan. So we would rent all that stuff. And then also like my buddies and I, we all had the 2 VCRs stacked on top of each other so we could dub stuff and whatever. So like we would always watch wrestling and we'd have 2 TVs going so we could watch WCW and WWF at the same time. And we'd record both. And then we would make like super tapes. We'd take like, this match was awesome. So then we would dub it to our super tape. And then we would all just make these compilation tapes, 6 hours of crazy fucking wrestling.
Was there any like local wrestling come through town?
Oh, no, not in my, no, not with Villisca. Like I said, about 1,000 people. So nothing cool ever happened in that town. But, when we wrestled, we would spend the week and we'd write out like on paper our card that we were going to have, come see Backyard Carnage 1999, and write our address and so versus so-and-so for the hardcore title, blah, blah, blah. And people would come and they would never like give us money, but people would come and bring like chips and soda and stuff and watch us wrestle. And then they would leave and then we'd take our camcorder inside and start making copies. And then we'd give everybody who brought us food copies of these wrestling tapes. So yeah, we thought we were like legit businessmen. We're like, dude, we got like 12 packs of, Surefine root beer, like the cheapest shit you could drink. But yeah, we thought we were like businessmen back then.
Awesome. What was your character?
So yeah, okay, so I was a massive Insane Clown Posse fan. Still am, even though my wife hates them, so I have to listen to them when I'm by myself. But, so I was Shaggy 2 Dustin, because in high school I had dreadlocks. Oh yeah, I had big long dreadlocks and, wore like a urban camo jacket and like a Dennis Rodman jersey. Yeah, I was just a fucking goof, dude.
I think we all were. That's all part of the journey, mate. It's all part of the journey.
Trying to find myself for sure.
On that, are you seeing like kids now, like probably your own kids, and it's like, damn, they're so cool these days. We were never that cool.
Yeah, so yeah, my son, he is 13 and he animates. He makes all these little cartoons and stuff. So not only that, like he wants to be a professional Muay Thai fighter. So like we train all the time. I could never fathom that. At 13, I was like playing with toys and like thinking I could pretend wrestle and not get hurt. And, he wants to like kick people in their kidneys and like break their faces with his elbows. And yeah, he's a Terminator. And then like my daughter is super artistic. And so she's like always drawing and painting and like the stuff that she does. And she just turned 16. The stuff she does, I still can't do stuff that good. And she gets that from her mom because her mom is wicked artistic. Yeah, it's a different breed, man. But I mean, they got the smartphones and stuff and they learn stuff so fast compared to us where we had to get like cheat code books or we had to, have a really like cool art teacher who would want to spend extra time with you or whatever. And these kids can just watch an Instagram video and be like, oh shit, oil paint. I'm an expert now. Like, whatever.
I think there's pros and cons to, let's say, both the journey we took and what kids took. Now, I think it's exciting for kids now. That information is instantly available. So if they're willing to take it on board, they're just sponges for it and they move forward. Whereas we'd have to wait 4 weeks for the next Fangoria to find any new information.
Exactly.
Whereas it's with you in 5 seconds now.
Well, and also like being able to disprove stuff or find out like absolute information immediately. Like, could you imagine? I don't know how old you are, but like imagine us being kids and we had like a 6th generation dub of like Faces of Death. And we're like, this is the most hardcore, fucking realest, nastiest shit you've ever seen. Yeah. It's real.
It's gotta be real.
And, I was like 20 when I'm like found out, oh, this is fake as shit. It took like a good 6-7 years to figure that out. And you just told everybody you knew how real it was, or like Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, any of those weird, nasty Italian things.
Or Paul from the Wonder Years went on to be Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone said that at the lunchroom table and all this stuff. And it's just a Google search away. And going back to ICP, I didn't know what they looked like without face paint until internet access. And I could be like, Violent J, no face paint. I'm like, oh, just a fat goober. Like,
spoils it a little bit.
Yeah, takes the mystery away.
Imagine what kind of career Kiss would have had if the internet would have been around. They'd have been screwed.
Probably wouldn't have got laid as much. Yeah, I don't know.
So where was your local video store and back like when you were first renting tapes with your dad? And how close does it resemble the video barn in your movies and your own 3B video store at your house?
So in my hometown, we had a few places we could rent tapes. We could rent tapes from the local grocery store, and they were like legit. They had the box art and everything. We had Casey's, which is our gas station, and it had like a small wall of movies.
Just stick them anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But the coolest place to go, which was weird because my dad, he's a drinker, but there's a local bar called the City Lounge. And the guy who ran the City Lounge, he had like a book of titles. You wouldn't be able to see the movies. He'd just show you the book and you go, okay, I want to rent Predator. And he would give you Predator, and it was in like a hard black clamshell. I can still remember the look of these hard black clamshells with like green stickers on them with numbers. And the tapes were just like regular tapes written with like marker. And you'd take this movie home and it'd be like recorded off of Cinemax or HBO. I mean, it was illegal as shit. But that's like, he had the best stuff because he would record, Cinemax movies at like 2 a.m. or whatever. And you'd get to see like Sorority House Massacre 2 or something weird. And he had the best stuff ever, but you were literally just renting off of title alone. You'd be like, sure, I don't know what Tremors is. Let's do that or whatever. But none of my local video stores look like the video store I built in my basement. But there was a few that were like 20, 30 miles away. There was an old movie theater that had like one screen, but the whole lobby had movies you could rent.
That must have been a thing in the States then. Isn't that something like what Mikey had going on?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know what that is. That must just be a weird American thing or small town America, I guess, because like get the best out of your lobby, like have 2 businesses going. But then there was this other place called Soundtracks.
With an X.
Yeah, exactly. It was, of course, right? And this guy that ran it, he had real long hair, looked like a discount dollar store version of like Axl Rose. His name was Hippie Tim. And it sold CDs. It sold all your bongs and pipes and stuff. But then it also had a big rental store in the back. And that rental store looks a lot like the one I built in my basement. Just, it had the most weird stuff. And it was only like 2 or 3 walls, but floor to ceiling movies. And then like one aisle you could go down. But it was amazing. It always smelled like weed and popcorn.
Yours doesn't smell like weed and popcorn, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it smells nice in mine. It smells like pumpkin spice or something down there. But yeah, and there was a couple really shady, like nefarious guys that worked there. You could tell that place might have been like a front for something. I remember this one dude that worked there. His name was Ben. And every time I went in there, he'd be like, have you seen Strangeland, the Dee Snider movie? And I'm like, yeah, man, you had me rent that last week. He's like, but have you seen it on DVD? And I'm like, no. And he'd be like, you gotta rent it. And he'd like make me rent Strangeland. And then like, I'd bring it back and he's like, we got the Strangeland soundtrack. Do you want to buy the soundtrack? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
He's upselling.
Dude, yeah, he was like obsessed with Strangeland. And then if I didn't go there for like 2-3 months, then go back in, he'd be like, dude, have you seen Strangeland? I'm like, motherfucker, yes, I have. I own it multiple times now, thanks to you. So can you give me a different suggestion?
I love that. Your own video store is created after a flood in your basement, I believe.
Yeah, you've done your research, sir.
What did your wife Megan say when you said you just didn't want a movie room, but you wanted a real life video store?
She was actually, all about it because it was a double thing for me. I was like, it can serve as a backdrop, which is awesome. But like, if I had the room, I would tear down another wall and I'd make it even bigger. But yeah, she was all about it. She's like, yeah, we'll make it nice and clean. Because before she hated going down in the basement because it was all dingy and dark and a bunch of big spiders everywhere. And she's just like, I hate getting movies down there. So we spruced it up and now she actually doesn't mind going down there. But yeah, it was a pure labor of love to kind of make it homey and make it feel, And right now it's kind of in a state of disrepair because when we got done shooting the movie and we wanted to edit, we put my computer and all that stuff down there. So I had to take apart my counter. So I got to put my counter back together and put it in there. Right now, the console TV from the movie is down there. I got to figure out a place to put that big bastard.
How much has the collection expanded since you made it into an actual video shop? Have you received donations or words got round?
I used to like post on Facebook, like, hey, anybody local who has any VHS tapes, like just chill it in your basement or whatever. If you got anything, I'll take them. I mean, for the most part, you're a collector, so you know how this is. People are going to bring you Disney tapes. 90% of them are moldy too. People used to give me all kinds of stuff, but it was always in real bad shape or unsavable. I mean, some tapes have been like completely white and you're like,
It's when the mold goes brown.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Like, oh, dude, because I had a buddy give me the original VHS release of Batman 66, and it's beautiful. The case is in great shape, and it's got like the bottom flap that closes. So you open the bottom flap, and I took that tape out, and it was solid white. And I'm like, I can't save this. And it's a hazard to like have in the video store. So if I shake it, jostle it, and breathe it, I'm an old man. I'm going to die if I'm breathing in this mold. So a while back, I got a bunch of DVDs from a guy. He got divorced from his wife, and he's like, they were all hers. You can have whatever. And he just gave me like giant totes of movies, but a lot of common stuff. But every once in a while, something rad in there, like a whole TV series or something.
It's the excitement. Someone says, I've got 2 trash bags full of VHS tapes. Do you want them?
Yes.
It's like, it's going to be 99.9% rubbish, but there might be that one tape.
Yeah, you might find Zombie on VHS. So you got to go, give it a shot.
You've mentioned it a few times. You've said your wife, Megan, she's been something of a rock for you in your career.
Yeah.
The past few years with her amazing support. Was she encouraging for you to make that jump from the regular day job into pursuing something that you really, really love? So I think that's an awesome part of your story, making that leap of faith.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to do that for her. So then she got to do that for me. When we got together, she was always a photographer and a very talented photographer. And she kind of did it on the side. She was working a couple of just crappy jobs and doing photography on the side. And she had a really good client base. And she's like, I think I want to pursue photography full time. Do you think that'd be okay? I'm like, well, yeah, we're poor right now. What's the difference? So she pursued it and made that like her primary gig and has been crushing the game. And then kind of the same thing happened for me where I was working a dead end factory job and tired of it. And a lot of people, every time I'd bring up, I want to work on movies or whatever, they'd be like, that's dumb. Like, you're an idiot. This is a real job. It's never going away.
How long had you been doing the factory stuff?
Over a decade. As soon as I turned 18, I started working in a factory and just plugging away.
Your body gets used to it as well. That's
Yeah.
part of the problem. It's just that routine.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I'd say the first 8 years of the factory, pretty tolerable. I had like a couple good buddies who worked there with me.
That helps.
And that's where I also met my wife. She had a short stint there before like we started dating. Thank God for MySpace, because she found me years later and was like, we should maybe go on a date. But the last 2 years of working in this factory, they moved me to night shift. It was killing my body, and I wasn't seeing my kids, seeing my wife, just sleeping all day and miserable. And I said, I think I want to try and do this, get into film. And she's like, you should give it a shot. So I messaged a couple filmmakers and they gave me some gigs. I got to go be a PA and stuff. And it just kept progressing from there. And finally I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to be like tied down to a normal bullshit job. I would rather be on film sets for 16, 17 hours a day and doing whatever. And so I just made that jump and nothing really has changed. We're still scraping by, doing our thing, but at least we're happy.
Was there anyone else who gave you the confidence to make that shift? Because you do tell a great story about Adam Green and Joe Lynch on your channel, which I urge people to listen and watch. Has that been a big influence on you, seeing people like that? They've obviously been massively successful, but they've always got that like DIY ethic.
Oh, yeah.
Behind everything they do.
Oh, that's 100% Adam Green and Joe Lynch were. So, and that's, again, like when I was in high school, all I ever wanted to do was work for Troma. I thought, all I have to do is get to New Jersey, and I can work for Lloyd. Then I watched some like DVDs and watched like the making of, and he's kind of abrasive on set. And I was like, I don't know if I vibe with that dude. I'd probably end up hitting him, and that's not good. So I went from wanting to be on Lloyd's sets to wanting to be an effects guy, like wanting to be like Tom Savini. And then somewhere along the line, I think it was because my buddy introduced me to the Movie Crypt podcast. I was always an Adam Green and Joe Lynch fan, but I'd never listened to podcasts. And then I started listening to them. I just really connected with the type of people they are. And so I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll work for Adam Green. I'd love to be a PA for Adam Green. And I really was leaning hard into like, let's get out to LA and try the whole LA thing. And we met Adam Green and Joe a couple times. And Adam kind of had that talk with me where it was like, you don't necessarily need to work your way into my film family. Build your own film family.
How inspiring is it to hear something like that?
Dude, I still, cry. I'm a very like emotional person. I still cry when I think about stuff like that. And it's awesome too. I don't want to like paint a picture like we're friends or anything, like we're not like buddy, but if I shoot Adam or Joe like a message on Twitter and I say, hey, TapeHead's done, look at this screenshot or whatever, they're always like super like, fuck yeah, dude, awesome. And really supportive of what I'm doing. And it just feels right this time around. Like we've got our little film family, and sure, it would be nice to have like 20 or 30 people on set helping you do stuff, but I'm pretty cool with like the 6 or 7, that we have. I feel like we can accomplish some crazy stuff. We all like know what each other's thinking. We work really fast.
From the outside, everything looks like it's growing organically. You can see it just by going through your videos on your YouTube.
I appreciate that, man.
See how everything's moving on. It's fantastic. And like I say, to hear things from people who, like Adam Green and Joe Lynch, like that's the path I want to pursue. I was speaking to Mikey about it. There's so much stuff out there now, especially in like the horror community, and VHS is becoming more and more popular. On one end, you could be like, oh, where do I sit in this? I can't compete with all this. Or you can look at it on the other end and get inspired by it. Feel good for everybody else doing stuff and get inspired yourself. I always love seeing stuff and get behind people like, yeah, this is great. Go for it. I might steal a little bit of that. I might pinch a little bit of that.
Well, and that's the deal with Mikey. Like when we first started talking, and like I said, seeing his video about that video store, it resonated with me on such a level. And I saw the emotion and I saw the talent. Mikey might not think so, but he's a filmmaker. Like he's a natural and he can tell a narrative very well. And when I see stuff like that, I immediately I get super hype and I want to tell that person like how much I believe in them. And I would talk to Mikey every day, and he was working at some print shop because he does graphic design. And I told him, you know what you should do? You should quit your fucking job and do this full time. And he's like, I don't know, man. And I'm like, I think you fucking should. You're awesome. Don't sell yourself short, man. If this is what you want, go after it. Don't be like, well, I would do that, but I have work, fuck that. Make this your work. And he took my advice, and he's just growing and growing and growing. And it's awesome to see. He deserves it. It's cool. Like the whole little circle we have, everyone doing their thing and coming into their own and growing. And it's just wild. It's wild.
What's the journey looking like for you for the rest of 2023? You mentioned taking the film to conventions. Is it Crypticon coming up soon, right? Is that in Kansas?
Yeah, Crypticon's coming up in Kansas. I believe it's in August. We were unable to get a booth at the time because we were still finishing up production and do that. But yeah, we're going to hit as many conventions as humanly possible and try to make our money back, because we're going to have to fly or drive and then get a booth and then get a hotel room and all that and spend money to make money, I suppose. But yeah, I really feel like our movie has legs. And if we keep pushing, we can get a reputation and gain an audience of people who dig what we're doing. And I think the other thing with that is it's important is being unique, like having a unique booth and table and stuff. That's stuff I learned from Drew Marvick, who plays our vagrant in our movie and who directed and wrote Pool Party Massacre.
Smashing it with like the merchandising and promotion.
He's a genius, and we've had a lot of conversations about stuff like that. So you want to be different. You want to stand out. So we are releasing our soundtrack on vinyl. We're putting out a TapeHead coloring book. We're going to try really hard to get this figure off the ground. So we have a figure. Just unique things that are going to be at our table that you wouldn't necessarily get from any other indie horror film. And I think that's important.
Is there a VHS release on the cards, a limited one?
Absolutely. I have all of that prepped and ready to go. I just have to get my money in order.
Damn that finance.
It's tough, man. We're going to do, I think originally the first run is going to be, 25 copies. And then I'll do a couple other runs depending on how excited people are over it. But I mean, like, it was always a thing we wanted to do. We wanted to do that with the short. And then I think Mikey originally paid a company to do it and something happened. They were either back ordered or they had too much stuff going on and then they never got to it. So Mikey was like, it's been like a year, guys. Let's just cancel it, And at that time we were already like writing this new one and getting everything for this. So it was like, let's do it again. We'll do it for the feature. So yeah, VHS, absolutely. You have to have a VHS for a movie called TapeHead.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
100%.
Yeah. I can't just have discs flying around.
Right. In closing, this is going to be a tough one. How would TapeHead stand up against some of the other 80s horror icons like Freddy, Jason, or Michael? Dare I even say Victor Crowley from the Hatchet series in there because he was particularly nasty.
Yeah. So if you ask Dylan Weeks, who plays TapeHead, he'll tell you he'll kill them all. And he's a massive dude, right? He's a big guy, not necessarily height-wise, but stature-wise, he's big. He's only like a 5'9", 220, 235. So I think he's killing your low tier guys. Like he's killing your stepfather. He's killing Angela from Sleepaway Camp, all three of them. He's slapping the shit out of a bunch of those guys. But, maybe he's killing Pamela Voorhees. He's killing Sackhead Voorhees. But I don't see him taking on like Jason Lives. We'll see. But I don't know. He's up there, though. He's up there. He's a tough motherfucker. So...
Dustin, I've loved chatting with you, mate. I'm going to let you go. Again, congratulations on the film. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much, man.
I look forward to spreading the word over here in the UK as much as I can about it.
I really appreciate that. And I've had a fucking blast talking to you, and I wish you nothing but the best. I've been following you for a hot minute. I didn't know of you until you did the thing with Mikey, and I've been following you ever since. You're rad, dude.
It's a lovely community. I just love seeing everything that people are doing and just connecting with people. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me, and I will be listening and watching, and I fucking loved being here, man. You're awesome. So thank you so much.
Massive thanks to Dustin Mattson for such a fun talk right here on the Straight to Video podcast. I truly hope you all enjoyed that one and get the urge to learn more about TapeHead and all the cool stuff Dustin is doing with 3B video. I continually get inspired by stuff like this, so please check it all out on the Linktree page for TapeHead the movie, or find 3B video on YouTube and Facebook. Or, whilst you're listening to this show on your chosen podcast platform, go seek out the Deep Cut podcast too. Things are heating up over at the 80s Video Shop over in Alfreton, Derbyshire. We just started doing our own membership packs, which we launched last week, and the response was way beyond what I expected. Chris and I thought it would be a really cool way for people to support the shop even if you can't make it along. We're serving up your own rental case, which includes a membership card, button badge, vinyl sticker and a £5 gift voucher to spend when you visit the shop. Membership also includes a 10% discount on online orders and also access to our new private Facebook group, which gives you early heads up on events and announcements. It's pretty cool, and if you want to get your own, then check it all out at www.80svideoshop.co.uk. So that is all for this episode, but we'll be back next Friday. And until then, always be kind, please rewind and unwind, and I'll speak to you all real soon.